We're breaking down guards for the San Francisco 49ers in the 2026 NFL Draft. It's a big need, maybe the biggest need. Could the 49ers take a swing at a starting left guard in round one of the NFL Draft on today's Locked On 49ers?
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker. Thanks everybody for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. And make sure you subscribe up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. We're breaking down 4 guards today, and it's an important position. It's a position we've been meaning to get to. 4 players that could be going in the first couple of rounds where the 49ers have 2 picks and have the need at guard. Oregon's Emmanuel Pregnon, Jennings Dunker out of Iowa, Keelin Rutledge from Georgia Tech, and Chase Bisontis from Texas A&M. And Croc, let's get this going with Emmanuel Pregnon. And I think looking at the consensus boards, Pregnon is probably the #1 of these guards and might be in the mix at pick 27 for the San Francisco 49ers if they want the best pure guard when they are on the clock at the end of round 1. Do you see that type of player? What did you see when you put on the Oregon tape and watched Emmanuel Pregnon?
You know, I think we talk a lot about drafting a tackle that can potentially early on play guard, and then you move him to the outside when Trent Williams at some point retires, which I saw like a report that the Kansas City Chiefs were willing to trade for him. I hope the 49ers don't trade him. But if you were going to, you'll probably get a first round pick. So maybe you can get like a tackle and a guard. But I will say, Pregnon, probably my favorite guard I've watched in the last couple of years. I mean, because of a lot of the spread, air raid type offenses, run and shoot, all that stuff, you don't see a lot of like big maulers, and you definitely don't see a lot of the maulers that can move and play in space and still pass set, but still play with power. And I feel like watching him, he gave me everything. Like I got to, and I'll go over some of my notes right here. Moves very well for a big guy. Then my next one, moves well in general. Moves bodies. I use move 3 straight times. He moves body, like moving a player from point A to point B. I mean, with ease and just really destroying guys. Next one, big mauler, physical, aggressive guard. And then I put a bunch of pluses. That means I just keep seeing that on film where he's just a physical, aggressive guy. Solid in pass pro, good double with eyes working to the second level. So what I mean by that is he was helping out double. What we call it in our offense, it's either a ace or a duo block where you're blocking and then you work to get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing that with eyes. Like, I don't even got to pay attention to you. I'm strong. I'm here. I'm helping. I'm anchoring down, and I'm going to get to the next level. I thought he did that with ease. Good work on reach block. If you're doing good work on your reach block, that means that, hey, I'm a pretty good athlete because I'm getting across that face. That's a difficult block to make, especially being consistent with it. He did it well. Good puller. And then I added great puller. Power on contact. A lot of times you'll see, and we'll talk about some of these other guys who I felt like, hey, this guy pulled well. But as he was pulling, he made contact with a guy, and it's like, okay, I'm getting away. This guy was trying to destroy you. And a guy that came to mind, because I think it was a few years back, 49ers were drafting Aaron Banks, and they were like, oh, man, this is a guy, he destroys guys. And I'm watching, I'm like, I don't quite see that, but all right. And then they showed highlights of Creed Humphrey when he got drafted. I'm like, well, damn, that guy is destroying people. Yeah. That was some of the stuff I saw from Pregnon. I mean, I just fell in love with the prospect. Move well, big, strong, powerful, pass setting well, run blocking well, destroying guys, mean streak, trying to finish everybody. He was a guy that I really liked as a prospect.
Just immediate, obvious power and movement in the run game, which got me. I started watching him and I had to stop, make some popcorn, come back and watch the rest of Emmanuel Pregnon because I didn't realize that that's what we were going to get into with this prospect. And I knew he was talked about as potentially a late first round pick and, maybe a second round pick. And a lot of people liked him, but it was fun to watch him destroy people. He looks huge. And I was actually surprised with his weigh-ins because I thought he was going to be over 6'5", 320 pounds. He's
You're saying 320. I thought he was going to be 335. Or
yeah,
he looks
long
very
arms too. Like you see him in his stance, and he looks so big. He looks like an offensive tackle. And apparently he did play some tackle early in his career. So this is his third stop at Oregon. He was at Wyoming for 2 years, USC for 2 years, and then at Oregon. And he's going to be 25 years old at some point in his rookie year as well. So an older prospect, which is one of the few negatives for Emmanuel Pregnon. So the reasons why it took him this long to be an NFL prospect is a big question. And I heard something somewhere that there might be something off field or some reason why, but I was trying to find it for today's show and I couldn't find it. So it must have been something I heard on a podcast somewhere. And so if you guys know the answer to that, let me know. I mean, he's huge. He annihilates people. And surprisingly, he moves well. He's not a ballerina out there, but he moves well enough to be in a zone blocking scheme, to get out in wide zone, and definitely in a gap scheme because he can move people out of the way that are right in front of him. But he works to the second level really well, and has good, I think not great athletic ability, but enough to play in any scheme that you would need. Gets a little upright, and I think there are times when he's really on the move to. Because I think his best ability to get out on the second level is like, okay, blocks a guy on the first level, gets out to the second level, finds his spot, and that's where he is. If he needs to continue to kind of hunt, it gets a little bit more difficult. But I mean, that's hard to find a guy that is that big, that powerful, and is a ballerina, right? Because you're not talking about a guy who's going to be there potentially at the start of the second round. You're going to be talking about a guy who's going where Vega Ioane is going to go, maybe in the middle of the first round, top 15 as a guard. So there's a lot to like with him. I will say that sometimes he can lose if he can't bully people right away because he wants to knock you out immediately. And if he doesn't, then he can lose some of those battles. But to be honest with you, that didn't happen even all that much. And so there's a lot to like with Emmanuel Pregnon. I would get it if he ended up in the end of round one. I would probably say a little bit more of a second round prospect just because he is a guard. And, the fifth year option stuff we saw with Tyler Linderbaum. I mean, a center and they make less than guards, and guards are making more and more money. But if you want to pick up the fifth year option, it's essentially offensive tackle money for guards. And so, is that the position you want to be taking in the first round? Would you rather take a defensive lineman, an offensive tackle, rather than a guard in that area because of just the positional value and the contract stuff? But aside from that, Emmanuel Pregnon gets the stamp of approval, I think, for both of us, right, Croc? Like he was a really fun player. And if you're trying to move Seattle Seahawks defensive lineman out of the way and convert a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1, then Emmanuel Pregnon's your pick.
Yeah, he's the guy for that. I was excited watching this film, and I know guard isn't a position the 49ers have invested a lot of resources into, and they signed some journeyman type offensive linemen that could potentially contribute or maybe step in and start. So I think, those guys are kind of there in the event that the 49ers aren't able to get a guy like him in this draft, right? Where it's like, they can truly take best player available. And we've talked about that a lot. But I mean, I really liked Scott from Miami, right? We like Concepcion. Like, there's a lot of guys that we like in this spot. I think they've set themselves up to be able to draft whoever the best player available is. If you want a guy that can maybe have one of the bigger impacts coming in year one, it will probably be Pregnon. Like, just because of the position he plays, the need, which is a huge need. And as you said yesterday when we talked a little bit about him off air, you said this is a guy that you easily see playing 10 plus years in the NFL.
That is Emmanuel Pregnon out of the University of Oregon. Let's talk Jennings Dunker from Iowa, Keelin Rutledge from Georgia Tech, and Chase Bisontis out of Texas A&M. Are they future 49ers? Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Financial stress is something a lot of people are carrying right now, and it's not just about numbers. It can affect your sleep, your relationships, and your overall mental health in ways that build up over time. And the reality is, struggling with money doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it just means you haven't had the right kind of support. It's something that I've thought about. I'm sure a lot of you listening have thought about it, how easy it is to put pressure on yourself financially without really talking about it. The stress that comes with trying to figure out everything on your own, taking all that on your shoulders for you, for your family, the expectations you feel to have everything together, especially with some of the fakeness of how everyone else seems like they have everything together in social media. Therapy isn't about financial advice. It's about working through the stress, the anxiety, and the emotions that come with it. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served, BetterHelp makes it easier to get matched and start focusing on what you need. So when life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/lockedon. Okay, Croc, moving on to Jennings Dunker out of Iowa. He had some serious helium to start the draft process and has started to fall off a little bit. People are talking about him as a first-round player, maybe a tackle, maybe has to move into guard. And now he's starting to fall to the consensus second-round area, right around where the 49ers will be selecting at pick number 58 in the NFL draft. Do you like Jennings Dunker potentially as a future San Francisco 49er, Croc? Is he a tackle or is he a guard for you? Played right tackle at Iowa.
He wouldn't be anything for me. I mean, watching him, my first notes here, slow-footed. Can he play in space? Question mark. Wants to bully on contact. So that was something I like. You need kind of a guys with mean streaks. So you're getting that now with two straight guys. Pregnon has it. Dunker has it. But Dunker's just not the athlete that Pregnon was, or any of the other guys that we're going to talk about today. What's the bully on contact? I like how he runs off the ball in zone. So for a guy who I didn't think was the most athletic guy, he still ran hard off of the ball. So what that means, especially when you're in zone concepts, their first steps have to be really hard this way, and then they'll end up blocking or shielding off a guy that's potentially in the zone or area that they're running through. All right. So I thought he was decent with doing that, and that may be a little intriguing to the 49ers. But also here, moves bodies on contact. So this is a guy that is strong. I talked about that a little bit with his wants to bully on contact, but he's moving bodies on contact as well. And I think that's big because some of these other guys that we'll talk about, they're not quite moving the bodies out of the way on contact. Cement feet. That's one of the last notes that I put. I mean, he just has kind of these clunky feet, and he's not the smoothest athlete. When you see guys out in space and him trying to run to them, it looked a little 50-50 whether he was even going to lay a finger on a guy, because I'm not sure he can change any kind of direction. And again, just not the most athletic guy. So he was intriguing, but I think you were talking about him in the area of like second round, I believe you said.
Yeah, that's consensus. He's around 60 overall on the consensus.
Yeah. I would have a hard time taking him there just because the athleticism from the eye test, especially when I'm thinking about what the 49ers like, just wasn't quite there. Even from a power scheme, maybe guys just in front of him were just moving guys this way and we're getting straight downhill. Maybe he can work a little bit better in that type of scheme, but I didn't really care to see him in space. The sideways movement, didn't really care about it. If I had to guess what his testing numbers look like, I probably wouldn't like him at all. But big guy, and again, had a mean streak, and I did like that.
Big guy, looks the part. Definitely not a tackle. He's going to have to move inside. Maybe a little unfair because his pass set as a tackle looked really bad, and his lateral agility did not look good. But we didn't have to see any of these other guys that were guards try to set up as a pass protector as a tackle. Right. So maybe it wouldn't look as good for those guys either. So maybe we're holding that against him too much, but for sure he's going to have to go inside to guard. But again, just even seeing him work and move to the second level and move around, I thought he lacked feet and range as a mover versus the other guys that we watched here. And I put not a wide zone guy, which means he's probably not going to be a San Francisco 49er. They're doing more gap, more power stuff than they did in the past, but you still have to be able to get out and move and do some wide zone stuff. And so, I don't think he's a great fit, but I thought that Aaron Banks wasn't a great fit for the 49ers too. So maybe the 49ers like the attitude. He does throw haymakers and he can land his punch and he can be powerful and move people out of the way. And I wrote down here last thing, no extra credit for the mullet. I don't know why people love him so much. Just you have a mullet and a mustache. That doesn't immediately make you an all-pro player. So I'm not going to give him any extra credit for his haircut. Although people are really,
I feel like that's a college thing and people are intrigued by it. But all the best linemen in the NFL, I've never seen any of them with a mullet. So I'm not sure the mullet doesn't mean good.
Quinn Miners a few years ago did the thing where he shows up at the Senior Bowl, and that's kind of what Jennings Dunker did.
Belly out.
You have it rolled up, so your belly's sticking out, and you got a funny haircut, and everyone's like, "Oh, look at the attitude on this guy," and people eat it up. I don't know, whatever, if that's your thing, but not a 49er to me, Croc. Jennings Dunker, I was a little bit disappointed. I wanted to see a little bit more. Athletic testing wise, kind of average testing numbers, solid average for a guard. It was almost identical, to be honest with you, with Emmanuel Pregnon. So Dunker was 6'5", 319 with long arms, 33.5-inch arms, so which is solid for a guard. And everyone got short change. So it might have been 34-inch arms for both these guys, just because everyone got short changed arm length wise at the combine. Both had over 82-inch wingspan. So, plenty of length, especially if you're talking about a guard. 5'18", 40-yard dash, 183, 10-yard split, 9-foot broad jump. Pretty solid 4.63 shuttle, which is one of the better shuttles, which is something that Kyle Shanahan we know looks at. Emmanuel Pregnon, a little over 6'4", 314 pounds, which is much smaller than I expected. Huge 11-inch hands, 33 and 5/8-inch arms. I think one of the bigger wingspans, especially for interior guys at the combine for Emmanuel Pregnon. 5'2", 40-yard dash, 182, 10-yard split. 35-inch vertical, though, which was the best vertical of all the offensive linemen for Pregnon. So, that explosive power that he gets probably generates it from the ground up. And so
the thing that he would probably hang his hat on that, I like if the 49ers were to take him, is just he's going to bring a certain attitude to the 49ers. And again, we talked about Kyle Shanahan. I mean, he didn't think his team could get a yard running the ball.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem.
You talking Dunker or Pregnon, or both, attitude-wise?
Well, really both. But, I mean, this is more so Dunker. He does have the mean streak. He does have the attitude. And again, I'm not talking about him as a first-round pick.
No. Second round, if anything, and I think there'd be a better player for the 49ers to pick at 58, and potentially one of these other offensive linemen if one of these guys is there for the 49ers in that range. I kind of talked about him like, do you remember Matt Stairs, the baseball player, played for the A's, slugger? Going back to the 80s, Rob Deere. He's kind of the guy where it's like he's a big hulking guy and he's trying to hit bombs. And if he strikes out, that's okay. Like, that's the vibe. I wrote down Rob Deere / Matt Stairs when I was breaking down Jennings Dunker. So that's what you're getting.
Matt Stairs. That's a name I have not heard.
He might be related to Matt Stairs. Speaking of mullets too, right? Bad facial hair. Okay, let's talk Keelin Rutledge for Georgia Tech, and then Chase Bisontis as well. Let's get started with Keelin Rutledge here, Croc, because I just want to start by saying Keelin Rutledge for sure has Kyle Shanahan's attention. 4.54 short shuttle. It's not in the golden short shuttle zone, but it was the fastest short shuttle amongst offensive linemen at the combine for those guys who tested it, which is really important. And for Keelin Rutledge, if you don't see him play yet and the tape is paused and you haven't watched him move yet, Jennings Dunker looks the part. Keelin Rutledge looks top heavy. He's built like a square. And you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to be able to move. And then you play and Rutledge can move. And so I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Keelin Rutledge, the way he played. He has plus athleticism, I think, for a square body, I put. And absolutely is a fit for zone blocking schemes, gap scheme fit, because he's burly, plays tough, plays technically sound. Love the hand placement. He gets his hands on you, stays blocked. He's very calm as he blocks you, but blocks with passion and blocks with power as well. So there was a lot to like from Keelin Rutledge. Croc, I want to get your opinions on Keelin Rutledge and what you saw on the tape next. We'll talk Chase Bisontis and how we rank these guys. Are they future 49ers coming up? All right, Croc. Keelin Rutledge, Georgia Tech. He was playing right guard at Georgia Tech, would probably move over to left guard if he was drafted by the 49ers, I would assume. And Keelin Rutledge, is he a future 49er, Croc?
I think out of all the guys, when we think about what the 49ers are looking for, again, I love Pregnon. I think that's what the 49ers need. But if they're going off of some of the other guys and what they look like and how they move, I feel like Rutledge is that guy. I thought he moved
off. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he moved very well in space. One of the things that was interesting, he moved well in space. He did a really good job of making contact with guys, whether he was pulling, down blocking, whatever it was. At the point of contact, he wasn't like the most powerful guy, but he still tried to finish the guys off as if he were a powerful guy. So I like that. He still has the mindset of like, I want to be this bully out there. He wasn't quite as strong or powerful as some of the other guys, but he still worked to do those same things while moving probably better than the other guys in space. And that's the part where I felt like 49er, because if you look at a lot of the guys that the 49ers have gotten, McKivitz and some of these other guys, they're just not the most powerful guy, but hey, I can get to my spot. I can shield you off. I can, wall you off from here, and I can get out in space, and I can run. And it looked like he can do those things very well. I thought he was a pretty fluid athlete. So when you're talking about how he's did in some of those agility drills, it's like, oh, okay, I see that on film. He was a very fluid athlete. So he's a guy that I liked a lot. So far, out of the three guys we've talked about, and we got one more guy with Chase Bisontis. I think Rutledge will be right there behind Pregnon for me.
I agree. Yep. And just to kind of put these guys in order, and we'll talk about Chase Bisontis. Bisontis is right there with Pregnon as far as consensus draft boards. It's kind of Pregnon, Bisontis in like 40-ish overall range, and then Dunker and Rutledge in that 60 overall range. So early second versus late second round is where consensus is on these guys. I'm with you. I would have Pregnon 1, Rutledge 2, then Bisontis, then Jennings Dunker. And I don't think Dunker's a fit for the 49ers really at all. But I've thought that before, and so maybe they could shock us. And there are some things definitely to like about Jennings Dunker. I do not think he's a tackle in the NFL. But to finish with Rutledge before we get to Bisontis here really quick, 5.05. So best workout numbers of these guys. Bisontis had really nice workout numbers as well. Keelin Rutledge, 6'4", 316. So size-wise, right in there, over 33-inch arms with the other guys we've been talking about. 5.05, 40-yard dash, 181, 10-yard split, 32.5-inch vertical, 7.5, 4.3 cone. And then I mentioned the best short shuttle, which is the most important of the athletic testing numbers for offensive linemen, especially those interior guys. 4.54 short shuttle for Keelin Rutledge. I really like Keelin Rutledge. Just the hands are just right there. It's like, bam, he's in there and he stays there and he stays locked in, and then he can get to the next level and move around. He looks like a plug and play immediate starter. Love it. Love what I saw from Keelin.
I think some of this, and I'm excited now because we have gone through so many prospects to do like a legit mock draft.
Mm-hmm.
I could see us putting together several mocks with different guys at each spot and us liking the pick and seeing how that guy would fit for the 49ers.
Right. And if you have to take these guys at their consensus spot, I think Rutledge in round 2 overwhelmingly would be my choice versus you'd have to take Bisontis or Pregnon in round 1. Right. And if Rutledge is going to be there in round 2, then that's easy. Then you would pass on guard in round 1 and go guard in round 2 if that's the direction you wanted to go if you were the 49. So, yeah, big time approval on Keelin Rutledge. And none of these guys are going to get to round 4.
Hey, how about this? Would you go, gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Texas A&M edge rusher.
Oh, Cassius Howell.
Cassius Howell round.
Cassius Howell round 1, Keelin Rutledge round 2. I think that's a somewhat likely scenario. Yeah. Speaking of Texas A&M, Chase Bisontis, really good athlete. He had good workout numbers as well. In fact, he had the best relative athletic score of this group. I think a lot of it is because his 10-yard split was the best. He was the only guy that was sub 1.8 in his 10-yard split. 6'5" and an eighth, 315 pounds for Chase Bisontis. 502 40-yard dash, 176 10-yard split, 32-inch vertical, 8'9" broad jump, 7.53 three cone, and 4.78 shuttle. So his shuttle wasn't as good as Keelin Rutledge's, but the 10-yard split was better. And you can see the movement skills from Chase Bisontis on tape. That's the number one thing that jumps out to me, Croc, is how quick he is, natural mover, getting out to the second level. And then when he gets there, he is physical on arrival, which is really important, and just a perfect fit for a zone blocking scheme. We want to look at what a zone blocking offensive lineman looks like, the ability to get out and move, get out to the second level, hit moving targets, get out on rollouts and 9.54 relative athletic score for Chase Bisontis. But Croc, not a drive blocker. Doesn't have nearly the physicality or ability to move people as these other three on the list. So that's kind of the trade-off with Chase Bisontis. So I can see why a lot of people would like him. I'm seeing people talk about him as potentially a first-round pick. That I do not see with Chase Bisontis, even though he's a really nice athlete at the left guard spot.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to watch as much as you have with him, but one of the first things I said to you was he's like you said, not much of a power guy, but he does work really good technique with resetting his feet on contact. So, when we think of anchoring down, it's, hey, I'm taking this contact. Guy's not going to be able to bull rush me. I'm going to stand my ground here. He'll move back a little bit, but, you explained it to me. And then, I knew exactly what you were talking about with the feet resetting drill that we see offensive linemen doing. He's working that to a T. Mm-hmm. So it may be something where he knows I'm just not, for whatever reason, not the most powerful guy. So I need to be more sound with my technique. And I thought that was something that stood out.
Yeah, the anchor is okay. I would say probably an average anchor. He can get bowled over, and there's a few too many times where I saw him end up on the ground where the guy he was blocking was not on the ground with him. And so just lacking the power element of these other guys, really just the mirror image of what we saw with Jennings Dunker. If you could put Jennings Dunker power into Chase Bisontis' athletic ability, you'd have an all-pro guard. But unfortunately, I think Bisontis is missing the body moving ability. I would like him in the second round area. I think first round, very rich from some of the projections I'm seeing for Chase Bisontis, even though I did like him and did have some physicality, but not a drive blocker and just kind of average anchor, I think, but absolutely can get out on the move on the wide zone and hit a moving target and really good as a puller. So athletic ability is really good there for Chase Bisontis, not a first round player. Clearly for me, Pregnon 1, Rutledge 2, and I do like Bisontis. Jennings Dunker, I don't think he's a fit. That's where I'm at. That's the order I have him in.
Yep, I agree with that order.
Okay.
Really like Rutledge. So yeah, if he's a guy that they're saying, hey, he's a second round guy, late second round guy, I think for the 49ers, you work to be a little strategic. If you see some other linemen flying off the board, you may need to figure out a way to kind of move up a few spots to potentially get them, but I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think right now, if you're the 49ers, you're looking for not just a journeyman guy, but can you find a guard for the next 10 years? I mean, that would be amazing. And I feel like every guard that the 49ers have gotten now, I think right now we're looking at a guard there where it's like, okay, he looks like he potentially can be the future at right guard, but you need somebody to complement him.
Yep. Absolutely. Keelan, if you're asking the question,
Pooney, I'm talking about.
Pooney, right? Yeah, Pooney at the right guard spot. If you're asking the question, who's the future 49er? It's Keelin Rutledge. I mean, he's checking all the boxes, especially where the 49ers would probably be able to take him. He could go, though, before the 49ers second round pick. In fact, Croc, if we're doing the thing that we had talked about before, like, you go back to the 2024 draft and Ricky Pearsall, you mocked before the draft, you mocked Ricky Pearsall to the 49ers, but in round 2. Yes. Keelin Rutledge be that guy where it's like, okay, the tape is good, shows up at the All-Star games, does well, shows up at the combine, throws down really good workouts, And it's like all of a sudden, oh, wow, everyone's shocked. Keelin Rutledge picked 27 in the first round to the 49ers because he's kind of got that profile right now because we're talking about him as a second rounder. And especially some of these other guys, I think the average fan might be shocked on draft day, especially in this class, because we act like a guy's going to go at pick 45 and he couldn't possibly go pick 32, but you have him 10 picks later in every mock draft and he can't go 10 picks earlier in the end of the first round. I think some folks are going to get shocked about the order of these guys going in, especially this year, how crazy things might start to get even in the middle of round one.
Well, I think people hear first round pick, second round pick, and don't take into effect, they don't think about where that guy was drafted in the first or second round. We talk about T. Higgins and Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, those guys were taken 33 and 34 overall, but they could have very well been a first round pick, but you view them as second round guys. Deebo Samuel was a second round pick. He was like the first or second pick in the second round.
Right. Yeah. And should have gone before some other guys that went ahead of him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I will say that I like your exercise you tried to put out there on social media to the 49er fan base or anyone that was following you saying, hey, like, who is that guy? Who is the guy that you're mocking, thinking he's a late second round pick, but he gets drafted in the first? And they were rattling off a bunch of names that we could see being drafted in the first round.
Yeah, that's
like, you guys are doing this exercise all wrong.
Our guy Brad Graham, though, he threw out Keelin Rutledge as one of his names.
Hey, Graham knows a little something. We got to get Graham on the pod,
especially offensive linemen. I would love to hear his offensive line breakdown of these guys. He's kind of in lockstep with me because he's on the I will say this really quick because he's big on Max Iheanachor too, and I think that would be one of the nicest picks for the 49ers at pick 27. At this point, do you Nate Tice put Max Iheanachor as his 11th overall prospect, which kind of shocked me. Most people have him, late round one, early round two. But, thinking about, so let's say you got to draft Chase Bisontis, right, in round one, and he's one of the guys you're considering. And a lot of people I see are like, oh, but, could Caleb Lomu or could Max Iheanachor play guard for a year? It's like, we just read the scouting report on Chase Bisontis, right? What would be the downfall of one of those tackles playing guard? Super athletic, even more athletic than Chase Bisontis. Maybe they're not powerful drive blockers, but neither is he anyway. So you get that player who's more athletic at left guard for a year or two, and then they kick out to left tackle. So, like, to me, it's a slam dunk. You're drafting Caleb Lomu or Max Iheanachor over Chase Bisontis at pick 27, right? The reason you would draft guard is because that's such a different. This guy can move people. Now we're talking Emmanuel Pregnon. That would make sense. But if you're talking about Bisontis versus one of these other tackle converts into guard that might not be a perfect guard fit, I'm still taking the tackle.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the potential and growth of Iheanachor. Like, I'm excited to see where does that go, because he is a guy that people view as not a project, but just terrific athlete, terrific ability, has nice flexibility with how he can play, but just
not there yet.
Tighten up just a little bit.
Yeah, it has some work to do, and that there's some bust potential there for sure as well. But the way I would put it with guys like Lomu and Max Iheanachor especially is their athletic ability and how little football they've played and how they should be more raw than they actually are. So that's actually, I think, a good sign for them not being even more of projects, even though they haven't played that much football in their lives. And Caleb Lomu is a redshirt sophomore. He started for 2 years though at Utah. And you think about the day after the draft, Mel Kiper, whoever's going to put out their mock draft and their big board for the following year, if those guys would have stayed in school, they'd be top 15 picks going into the summer for next year, right? But you're getting a year ahead of that because they don't have as long of a resume maybe as some of these other offensive linemen, but they have that sort of ability and athleticism. So I'll get off my offensive tackle in the first round soapbox. Brock could be guard in the first round, could be guard in the second round. Some really good prospects here for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll continue to break down the 2026 NFL draft just over 2 weeks away. And Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.